The View recently responded to Tom Hanks's highly contentious Saturday Night Live comedy skit, in which he played a white, racist Christian Trump supporter. Despite the fact that the skit generated a lot of online outrage, you can probably guess which panelists thought it was humorous. They also discussed the latest Delta plane disaster, which was neatly linked to Donald Trump in typical fashion, even though it happened in Canada. As usual, since not all members of a group are the same,
folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No,
Oh, no. It's just a handshake. Yeah, it's just a handshake. Yeah, all right. You welcome in Black Jeopardy anytime.
All right. Well, thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it White Jeopardy.
No, we don't need it.
Now, some conservative viewers were not laughing at that part. They thought, I guess they thought this was new. There was a new addition, but this is a callback. He's been on several times in this character.
But the fact remains that they're making anyone who voted for Trump look like a racist, and that's why they're mad.
Well, my biggest issue with
and I personally would never do that, because I don't believe that any group is one thing.
Joy Bihar's willingness to demonstrate that it was inaccurate to paint all Trump supporters as racist is commendable. However, I'm quite certain that for the last year, she and every other member of The View, aside from Alyssa, have been calling every Trump fan a racist, a fascist, a Nazi, or a misogynist. There aren't any exceptions. They wouldn't even entertain other perspectives. The problem that many have with Tom Hanks's portrayal is not only that he depicted every Trump supporter as racist, but also the condescending tone in which Hollywood portrays Christians. These portrayals are obviously skewed. There would never be a Russian communist actor saying, "I support Comrade Kamala." A black person speaking Ebonics would never be portrayed by someone wearing baggy pants and an Uzi in their waistband. But it seems that everyone who is white, Republican, or Christian is fair game. They may be portrayed in the most repulsive and demeaning ways. This time, Trump won the popular vote and made significant advances in all demographic categories. The outdated notion that a Trump supporter is only an elderly, white, racist Christian is not only false but also hurtful, since Hispanics, blacks, Indians, and moderates all voted for Trump because the Democratic message was so weak. But as if on cue, Sunny Hostin explains why it was actually a wonderful thing. Watch.
A different take on that. Just because, as Whoopi said, Tom Hanks joined the sketch, bringing back the character of Doug, because the first Doug was in a 2016 sketch, and in fact, that was the most popular installment of Black Jeopardy, was with Doug as the Trump supporter in 2016. I think it's a very subversive sketch. In fact, it's about Black culture being American culture. And so when you have the regular Jeopardy, it's basically the White Jeopardy. That already exists, because I've been on it and lost.
And
so this in 2018, you had Chadwick Boseman on, and the fact that he refused to shake the host's hand, that has happened before. Do you remember when the senator refused, the senator's husband that was being
refused to shake Kamala.
that wasn't sworn in? He refused to shake her hand. So I felt that it was very subversive. I felt that it was a sort of a callback to.
What I want to talk about is what she said in the middle. Indeed, the threat we face now is quite similar to the white danger. The left's racism is based on the idea that only white people possess insignificant knowledge. The belief that black people cannot prosper in such an environment is itself racist, adding, "It is white jeopardy. I would know, since I was on it and lost." The left's DEI victim mentality, which maintains that failure in anything is obviously an indication of racism or injustice if I'm black, is best demonstrated here. To avoid having to confront their own shortcomings, they use it as a shield. Additionally, the skit may have been successful in 2016 when Trump lost the popular vote, but it is completely out of touch today. He was a new candidate then. He said a number of absurd things that had never been uttered by a politician before. Many people struggled to understand how someone so new to politics, who speaks in such an unpolitical, direct, and crass manner, could be elected. There was widespread Trump derangement syndrome. As such, it was easy to write his supporters off as a bunch of racist, white Christian nationalists. But that's no longer the case. Trump's manner and words aren't making people go crazy. He received votes because of his honesty and authenticity. As I said, he made notable strides in all demographic categories. A big red shift occurred in every blue state. He flipped hundreds of blue counties. Many voters defected from the Democratic Party to embrace Donald Trump because they wanted someone who would improve their lives, get things done, and protect the American people, rather than someone constrained by political correctness. They wanted someone who would talk to them clearly and succinctly, rather than repeating Kamala Harris's word salads and cliches. When Democratic strategist James Carville says that Democrats should put aside their arguments and cease fighting, Sunny responds with even more pretentiousness. Sunny then gives a devout response.
Let USAID criticisms go. I love USAID. I've been on missions abroad where we've used it to help people, but it's intangible to voters. It doesn't really impact American voters' lives.
Okay.
If DOJ comes into the Social Security Administration and something happens, that's where you hold your real fight for.
Why is
And I
Mike
think-
going into my Social Security and the IRS?
well, people
Why
should
is he
be-
doing that?
that
Why
part's
was firing
problematic.
people?
People should be concerned about that, but I kind of agree with James Carville because I'm part of the 92% of black women that voted to save the rest of the country. But the country wanted something else, and the country's getting something else. So I'm resting.
It's not the whole country.
Well, enjoy, just to push
I'm
back on what you're
resting.
saying.
Apparently, the rest of us just wanted to demolish it. They are unable to admit that they were wrong or that their worldview is flawed. The surveys, which indicate that Donald Trump is more popular than ever, make this very evident. He won the popular vote. His agenda items have between 60 and 70% favorability. But people like Sunny Hostin feel certain they were right because they are better educated and have college degrees. Opposition to the popular America First agenda is not the only challenge facing the Democratic Party. The issue is that they aren't even offering an alternative strategy. What is their plan to cut down on government spending? Because all I've heard is that Trump and Elon Musk are doing it wrong, and they haven't explained how they would go about doing it. They remain silent. Joe Biden did lead to an increase in border crossings. His unilateral move eventually led to the crossings ceasing in the last 5 or 6 months of Biden's presidency, demonstrating that he was the cause of the problem and had the chance to fix it. Since Trump took office, border crossings have also dropped by 95%. But the Democrats insisted that the problem needed to be addressed via bipartisan legislation. That wasn't Joe Biden, they said, but they still haven't offered a border or immigration plan that doesn't include amnesty and eventual citizenship for the 10 million people who came to our country illegally. They want to talk about Trump's foreign policy, including his affinity with people like Putin and his ongoing mistreatment of our allies. Because he continuously permits our allies to take advantage of us, Biden's foreign policy is the complete opposite of Trump's. And what did it lead to? Battles being fought in Gaza and Ukraine, while conflicts overseas are being financed with hundreds of billions of US taxpayer dollars. They want to talk about how the worst thing that could possibly happen is Trump's tariffs. But it was their government that caused record-high inflation and wiped away America's working class. Who is the fairest of them all appears to be the question Sunny Hostin poses to her reflection when she wakes up in the morning, as if to bolster my claim that Democrats are just against everything that appeals to the American people. Here is Whoopi Goldberg saying that wokeism is a good thing.
That's why it's so annoying, when people talk about wokeism. Because, for years, women decided, I don't like how you talk about us. And so we got out and we did something about it. That was wokeism at its time. People didn't want us doing that. When we said, hey, we got to put more people of color, more folks who are different into colleges. They said, well, we don't want that either.
Yeah.
That was considered wokeism. So it's all of these things that seem to benefit other people seem to be problematic because you're woke. Well, most women have never been asleep because we know what we're fighting.
She's not talking about wokeism. She is discussing a traditional kind of progressivism, or liberalism, defending what were clearly pervasive abuses. Women fought for their rights. Black people wanted equal rights, so they fought for them. As I have shown before, wokeism is essentially about fighting for imaginary injustices. The disadvantage of being progressive is that eventually there is nothing left to fight for. Rights belong to everyone. Everyone is in the same position. Everyone is free. But today's woke progressives are so eager to wage a cultural struggle that they have started fabricating causes to support. we will decide to fight the battle to change a male into a female. Black people are supposedly more oppressed than ever before, even if we had a black president. There are problems with the First Amendment. Speaking in a way that offends others ought to be against the law. Teachers should be allowed to discuss sexual orientation and personal matters with their students to make them feel seen.
The thing that they're doing is the union spokesperson said that the people that have been affected are maintenance mechanics, aeronautical information specialists, environmental protection specialists, aviation safety assistants, and management and program assistants. And I just want to just call back to what Pete Buttigieg tweeted. He said, "We put safety first, drove down close calls, grew traffic control, and had 0 commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch." President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe.
So I do think it's a valid point, but I want to be very clear. There is no evidence that the DC tragic plane crash had anything to do with these firings. And then this most recent one in Toronto, it was because of landing on a Canadian airway, and it was related to the landing. It was not, there is yet at this time no evidence it's related to the layoff.
The fact that Black people remain the poorest demographic group must be evidence of pervasive, institutional, and ingrained white supremacy, even though they have had equal rights for more than 60 years. Wokeism arises when the urge to fight injustices outweighs the actual injustices to fight. They are the ones promoting racism, so they have something to fight against. In the most recent election, wokeism was decisively rejected. Most people want to live in a society that benefits from the social and cultural progress made over the years. People enjoy living in a free, egalitarian, and accepting country. White people were tired of being called racists for being white, and Black people were tired of being called victims for being Black. Now, true to character, Sunny had to make yet another ignorant, insincere comment accusing Donald Trump of somehow being responsible for the terrible Canadian airplane accident. Watch. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.